Welcome to Keto Life Support, where we make your keto life sustainable, fun, and low stress. I'm Kim Howerton, and I'll be coming to you weekly with some of my keto besties to bring you the practical, real-world keto advice that you need. Quick disclaimer, I am not a doctor, and even if we do have a doctor in the house from time to time, he or she is not your doctor, and nothing we say on this show should be taken as medical advice. Always check in with a trusted medical professional about your own personal medical concerns.
Hello and welcome to Keto Life Support. This is Kim Howerton with episode number 182. And today we're going to talk about how healthy is your muscle. I'm recording this right in the midst of getting ready to speak at Ketopalooza in Louisville, Kentucky. I'm super excited, and in prepping for that talk, one of the subjects I'm touching on is something that I don't think gets enough airtime around health and body composition. So I think we're all familiar with the idea of body composition, which is sort of the ratio of how much body fat we have versus how much lean mass we have, or fat-free mass, right? So if you look at what are you composed of, what is your body composition? There's fat and there's everything that isn't fat. And that's basically how it breaks down. But within the lean mass or the fat-free mass, we know that muscle is a large component of that and is a very active and important component of that. And so when we look at body composition, when we get a DEXA scan, for example, which is kind of the gold standard of figuring out your body composition, you get a report which tells you how much fat mass you have, how much visceral fat it thinks you have, what your bone density is looking like, what your appendicular lean mass is, so sort of body fat broken down in different parts of your body. But what it doesn't do is look at the quality of your muscle. Now, some of you are like, what are you talking about? But I want you to think, I'm sorry, I know I'm reducing everybody to a piece of meat, but I want you to think about steak for a minute. Let's think about muscle as steak, because quite honestly, that's really what it is, right? So if you look at some sirloin, that is very lean. There's almost no marbling in sirloin. And that's, not to be gross, that's kind of what we want our muscle to look like. We want the fat to be on the outside of the muscle. So imagine a steak like a New York strip. Hopefully no one's squeamish, right? A New York strip where you've got a not super marbled piece of meat and it's surrounded by fat. There's a fat cap or fat around the piece of steak. That's what you want. You know, if someone were to cut a cross section of your leg, you want the muscle part to be unmarbled. You don't want fat in your muscle. You don't want to be a piece of Wagyu, all right? But that is what is going on for many of us because, fat can get into your muscle. Fat can absolutely get into your muscle. It happens constantly. What are the things that encourage fat in the muscle? They are things like if you are insulin resistant or have diabetes, you're more likely to have intermuscular fat. Low activity. So muscle gained from sedentary behaviors, which sounds weird, but anytime you gain weight, if you gain weight, some of that weight gain will be muscle, will be lean mass gained, not just body fat gain, not the majority, but some of it. But if you're just gaining muscle because you're eating more, most of that gain will just be fat in the muscle. So it'll be gain in the muscle, but not gain to the lean muscle. Muscle disuse, so low activity and disuse, they're partners, right? Low sex hormones, especially for women, but also true for men. But estrogen is a potent muscle helper. And so postmenopausally, women will tend to add more muscle fat. Low testosterone can also encourage the gain of muscle fat. Leptin resistance, which is very related to insulin resistance. Injury, being injured, again, with the disuse. And then also actually glucocorticoid use. So either ingested steroids like prednisone or other types of drugs that you might have to take, but also cortisol is in this category. So high stress can lead to this fatty muscle. And basically, you can think about fatty muscle as being very much like visceral fat. It's very harmful. And one of the primary reasons, and something that I think a lot of people don't think about, is that muscle is the primary glucose sink of the body. This is not the only reason it's bad, but it is a good one to talk about. So about 80% of our glucose disposal is meant to be muscular in nature, right? Our muscle sucks up that glucose and keeps it out of our bloodstream. So some of you who have chronic blood sugar issues, even when you're eating optimally, even when you went carnivore, even when you're not overeating, if you have unhealthy muscle, your disposal unit for your glucose is broken. And so this might be implicated in some people's, this is implicated in some people's chronic elevated blood sugars, even in light of a low carbohydrate or ketogenic diet. Is it the only reason? Not necessarily, probably not, but it's definitely part of the reason. What are the other problems with fatty muscle? Well, it should be pretty clear that fatty muscle is not as strong as lean muscle. And so they've done studies comparing women of similar body weight and body composition. So on a DEXA, they look the same. They look about the same. But when they did an analysis of the fat, which you can do with an MRI or a few other methods that are more lab-based, they're not really available to the public for the most part. But in these lab studies, these women would be compared, and they would find that every time the woman with fattier muscle was less strong, sometimes even half as strong on some measures. And why is this important? Again, beyond just strong is good, being able to do things is good, being able to lift things is good, strength is directly correlated. Grip strength and leg strength directly correlated with healthy aging, especially healthy cognitive abilities as we age. You can draw a straight line between being strong and having healthier brains. The same line cannot be drawn with simply how much muscle you have because of this exact reason. Because that some people have more muscle, but that muscle is not healthy muscle. That muscle is more because it's got fat in it. So from just the ability to use your muscle and be strong, the ability to resist aging-related falls, cognitive impairment versus the benefits to cognition of having healthier quality muscle, the ability for that muscle to be used to be productive in terms of glucose disposal. These are all incredibly important reasons that you care about the health of your muscle. So I just found this fascinating, and I thought it might be helpful for you guys. And you might be now asking, okay, so what do I do? How do I fix this? This sounds depressing. And the good news is we are in a constant state of muscle turnover. Not a lot, but a little every day is being turned over. So if you take that list and turn it on its head that caused fattier muscle and do the opposite, right? So disuse caused fatty muscle. Resistance training turns the tide. So muscle that is renewed while you're doing resistance training, while you're being active, while you're getting your steps in, while you're focusing on being a healthy, active human, while you're eating in a way that helps reverse insulin resistance, keeping the stress low. I'm not saying don't take steroids if you need them for a health problem, but use them appropriately. But the one glucocorticoid that we can work on is high cortisol, high stress levels, bringing those things down, focusing on being a healthy, happy individual. These things are going to be helpful in terms of bringing up the quality of your muscle. It doesn't take all that much work. Going from 0 resistance training to 1 short session a week is an improvement. Going from 1 to 2 doesn't take as much effort as you potentially think it will, especially if you're new to this whole resistance training arena. So there is lots of hope here. Work on getting strong. Work on getting fit. Work on being able to do more work with your muscles, and it will turn the tide on being more of a sirloin and less of a Wagyu. All right, I will talk to you soon. This was Kim.
Thank you so much for joining us for this episode of Keto Life Support. Want more information? Want show notes? Want to suggest a topic? Just head over to ketolifesupport.com. That's where all that kind of thing can go on. By the way, I have a request. If you could go to your podcast host and hit subscribe, we would really, really appreciate it. And what would be even more awesome is if you could write a review. And what would be even more awesome than that is if you could write like a really flattering review. Just asking, you do you. All right. So thanks so much for joining us. I'm thrilled that you're part of the Keto fam. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.